There has been evidence of eating disorders throughout history, but they have gained more attention in recent years as a result of both truth and trend. They are mental and physical illnesses that affect people regardless of age, sex, gender, race, ethnicity, and other identifiers, evidently much more than a fad. Based on national surveys, it is estimated that about 20 million women and 10 million men will have an eating disorder at some point during their lifetime. Because of recent research, more is known about eating disorders than ever before, yet that knowledge has not transferred to the larger population where traditional ideas about them persist. Eating disorders have social implications despite being commonly considered private afflictions of the individual. The three best-known eating disorders are anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. Anorexia nervosa is characterized by weight loss or inability to maintain a body weight appropriate for one's stature and age. However, this condition can affect people of any weight or body type. It is often associated with a distorted body image and a restricted intake of food. Bulimia nervosa involves a cycle of binging and compensation. The National Eating Disorders Association defines binging as eating in a discrete period of time an amount of food that is definitely larger than most people would eat during a similar period of time and under similar circumstances. People often feel they lack control over their food intake. Compensation refers to inappropriate behaviors practiced to prevent weight gain, such as self-induced vomiting, misuse of laxatives or diuretics, fasting, or excessive exercise. Binge eating disorder is similar to bulimia nervosa in that it is characterized by the reoccurrence of eating excessive amounts of food, often very quickly, and feelings of little control during the binge period. This results in physical discomfort and emotional distress, especially as people may eat when they are not feeling hungry. However, unlike bulimia nervosa, those with binge eating disorder do not practice compensation. Despite being viewed as private issues, eating disorders have considerable prevalence. The National Comorbidities Survey replication conducted among U.S. adults 18 years old and older in the early 2000s found that 0.6% of adults had suffered from anorexia nervosa at some point during their lives. The same survey reported the lifetime prevalence of bulimia nervosa in adults as 1% and that of binge eating disorder as 2.8%. Eating disorders disproportionately impact minorities. The hidden causes of eating disorders, which will be identified later, are magnified in these populations. Healthcare disparities, such as care affordability and access, already pose a great challenge for these groups. A 2006 study examined clinician response to identical eating disorder cases, which only differed in that the subjects were white, Black, and Hispanic women. Of the clinicians, 44% determined the white women's eating behavior to be of concern, compared to 17% for the Black women and 41% for the Hispanic women. When healthcare professionals dismiss such cases, the experiences of those people are invalidated, making them less likely to address their health problems and more likely to adopt the same attitudes as the professionals. Stigma and stereotypes may also prevent minorities from seeking treatment. In 2010, researchers identified social barriers to eating disorder care by interviewing an ethnically diverse group of participants. In certain cultures, discussing mental health, including eating disorders, is considered taboo. Other cultures are food-centered, making those with eating disorders feel isolated. Regardless of culture, there was a common sentiment among participants that eating disorders are a private issue that should be dealt with by the individual. The serious mental and physical consequences of eating disorders cannot be discounted. Malnutrition caused by anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa decreases pulse and blood sugar, resulting in fainting or dizziness. It impairs the body's ability to digest food, while binge eating can cause the stomach to rupture. In addition, compensation or purging decreases the number of electrolytes in the body, which are important to heart and muscle function. Both types of behavior increase the risk of heart failure and pancreatitis. The brain depends on calories as well. Irregular eating habits can affect concentration, one's ability to sleep, and lowers the body's number of white blood cells, harming the immune system, and red blood cells, resulting in anemia, which is a condition characterized by weakness and shortness of breath. Malnutrition also prevents the body from manufacturing essential hormones, which can cause menstruation to become highly irregular or stop, bone loss, and increased cholesterol levels. with binge eating, there is an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. As a psychiatric disorder, eating disorders are the deadliest, with at least one person dying every 62 minutes. The extreme and diverse consequences of eating disorders impact both those suffering from them and those around them. There are many misconceptions about eating disorders. Like other issues involving mental health, there is the belief that they are a choice and are not life-threatening, but they come from a desire to look a certain way or are part of a phase. The media presents them as affecting primarily younger, middle-class Caucasian females, most of them suffering from anorexia nervosa, who desire to be thin, although they already appear unhealthily skinny. In truth, they arise as the result of biological, sociological, and psychological factors. Biological risk factors include having a family history of eating disorders and having a pre-existing mental health condition, such as anxiety, depression, or obsessive-compulsive disorder, but external factors also come into play. Living in an environment that idealizes certain body types can create pressure to look a certain way, especially with the aid of mass media. Athletic competition can impact beauty or physique standards much like the media can. Diet culture also operates in this way, emphasizing thinness as key to social acceptance and overall success, but engaging in dieting puts people at a significantly higher risk of developing an eating disorder. At the core of most eating disorder cases is stress, most often caused by change or trauma. Changes in employment, within relationships, and in environment can all result in stress. Naturally, anyone who is part of a minority group or groups experiences increased stress. They must deal with the additional challenges of prejudice, discrimination, and higher risks of poverty and abuse, making them more susceptible to eating disorders. As humans, we value having some sense of control over our lives. When change compromises one aspect of our lives, we often seek to control something else. For some, the replacement is themselves, and the control extends to an unhealthy degree, resulting in an eating disorder. Eating disorders impact every part of a person's life, so holistic solutions and treatment are necessary. Medical care for the individual may occur at home or in the hospital, depending on the severity of the eating disorder, and may include therapy. Efforts are also being made for societal change, focusing primarily on public awareness. Body positivity has become more common in the media, especially in recent years. Social media has allowed those with eating disorders to share their experiences, creating a sense of community that may be hard to find in real life. These platforms, however, must be navigated carefully, as some material may be triggering and even promote disordered eating. This can come in the form of websites or hashtags cleverly named so as to remain undetected and not in violation of internet community guidelines. Other forms of media can be used with similar effects, and critics disagree on whether certain presentations are helpful or harmful. One example is the 2017 Netflix film To the Bone, a story about Ellen, a young anorexic woman fitting the media's eating disorder trope described previously. With both the director and the lead actress, Lily Collins, having experienced anorexia nervosa, the intent was to increase conversation about eating disorders. Again, such content should be consumed with caution. Media portrayals of eating disorders that reinforce stereotypes may also cause those who do not fit the mold to feel less inclined to share their experiences. If they do not speak out, stereotypes are more likely to persist, creating a vicious cycle. Encouraging individuals to seek help and educating the public are organizations such as the National Eating Disorders Association and Families Empowered and Supporting Treatment of Eating Disorders. These groups provide a range of services, informing individuals and families on specific disorders and risk factors, and offering helpline and support resources. Eating disorders are commonly caused or worsened by external factors outside of the control of the many who suffer from them, preventing them from being classified as an individual problem. Our culture and the inequalities in our society provide the perfect environment to nourish their existence. Ignoring the identity of eating disorders as a social issue conceals the realities of stress, stereotypes, and stigma that contribute to them. These realities must be acknowledged if we are to address eating disorders and other social maladies with similar dire consequences and bring back those who have been isolated by their conditions. The complex nature of eating disorders, as both a health issue and a social issue, requires a comprehensive approach. The solution cannot be of the philosophy one size fits all. If you or someone you know is struggling, do not hesitate to reach out. The NEDA Helpline contacts are shown here.